Took me a while to get to something that was actually pretty recent, so at the time of recording, I just finished watching the most recent ReZero episode, which at the time is ReZero episode 41, or season 2 episode 16. When I first started watching this episode, I didn't expect to have anything to really talk about. Now, I'm gonna say this right now. There will be a lot of spoilers for all of ReZero Season 2, and if you haven't watched this show, I highly recommend that you do. It's a really good one and definitely one of the best shows of 2020. Now, I know that that's not really that high of praise because, let's be honest, there wasn't much competition, but either way, it's genuinely a really good show and you'd be missing out if you didn't watch it. So yeah, please consider that before you continue on. For those of you who decided to stay, ReZero is an anime where the main character, Subaru, is transported to another world. At first, everything seems normal, a pretty typical isekai setting until our hero dies. Wait, what? Yeah, instead of the story ending right then and there, Subaru is revived at a certain checkpoint in the past, and his goal in this world is to make sure nothing bad happens to him or his friends, ever. It's kind of like a video game, only horrific and really terrifying. During the show, certain things happen to Subaru and the people around him, which really stunts any progress Subaru has made in his new life. For example, one of the first chain of events that happens in the show is Subaru gets shelter from a man named Rosewall in his mansion. He resides there with a girl named Amelia and two maids named Rem and Ram. During his stay there, he mysteriously dies in his sleep, making him lose a lot of his progress, so he needs to figure out the cause of his death to prevent him from constantly looping. All the while, he also needs to quickly gain the trust of the maids working there, or else he'll die anyway. It's a pretty complex scenario, but one of the things I want to touch upon is, at one point, Subaru decides to shut himself in a magical library all day, every day, to prevent himself from getting killed, but instead of fixing anything, Rem dies in his place. To fix this, Subaru decides to commit suicide to intentionally reset and save her. He tends to do this a lot. I'll bring this back up later, but for now, let's switch to the latest episode. Episode 41 of ReZero delves deeper into a character named Garfield, who does not like lasagna, why do you ask? Now, many shows dedicate a certain amount of time to flesh out certain characters, but I find how ReZero did this to be interesting. I don't think that the point of this episode was to show a tragic backstory and have the audience cry for a bit. Now, obviously, I find Garfield's past to be pretty damn sad, but there's some extra meaning to this episode. To understand what that is, we need to take a look at the entirety of Season 2 as well. The whole point of this season is showing why the way Subaru is acting is really shitty, not because it's selfish or hurting people around him, it's more because Subaru doesn't seem to care about taking care of himself. Like, at all. Like I said before, when one of his friends dies, Subaru either dies along with them, or he goes out of his way to commit suicide in order to reset and save that person. Subaru continues to do this, so much to the point that it's pretty much his first option whenever something bad happens. The reason why he does this and resorts to this so frequently is because he doesn't value himself. He actually kind of hates everything about him. As a result, he comes to the conclusion that it doesn't matter what happens to him, so long as he can save his friends and everyone in his reach, then it's fine. Naturally, when having this type of mindset, he tends to shoulder all of the burden, choosing to take the people around him out of the equation, meaning that he can rely on himself and only himself. This is partly due to the fact that he can't seem to tell anyone in this world about his ability. Every time he tries to, these hands come in and touch his heart. I'm not really sure how to describe this, but point is, it hurts a lot, and more importantly, it prevents Subaru from ever saying what he wants to. In his current character arc, he's been going through really terrible shit, as he always has this entire time. Which, as always, leads him to believe that he alone should be the one to suffer. He continuously opens himself to pain and suffering so that others won't have to experience it at all. After learning some pretty fucked up stuff about the plot of this season, Subaru kind of loses it, finding it harder and harder to continue this kind of behavior. But he still tries to, and he goes so far that literal witches of the seven sins start to show concern over his actions and begin to intervene. He eventually gets it through his head that the way he acted was stupid. It was wrong of him to try to do everything alone, and he should be relying on his friends as much as he allows them to rely on him. This brings me to Garfield. Garfield is a very insecure person who tries to act big by shouting and lashing out at others. This comes from the fact that he was abandoned by his mother, and he doesn't quite know how to cope with that. In this episode, we learn that while Garfield's mother did leave him, he never felt resentment towards his mother. Instead, he saw himself as in the way of her happiness, and he felt terrible that she left and died immediately after, failing to find her joy. Now let me phrase that in a different way. In his eyes, the reason why his mother couldn't find happiness is him. The reason why she left was him, and because she left, she ended up dying. Again, because of him. He places all of the blame on himself. Now it's revealed in the trial that Garfield's mother didn't hate her children at all. In fact, the reason she left was to find their father and live happily with them. Garfield knew this deep down, but he chose to forget it. He wanted to convince himself that his mother hated him, that he was a detriment to her life, that he wasn't wanted. He found convincing himself that his mother didn't love him and abandoned him for the chance of happiness to be the easy way out, because in his mind, it's much more justified for others to be content at his expense. There's an interesting bit in this scene where Garfield tries to attack his younger self while calling him a piece of shit. He does this because, as a child, he kept clinging to his mother when she was about to leave the village. This is meant to show us that Garfield kind of hates himself. He hates himself for the way he remembers letting his mother down. Because she died, Garfield wanted to prevent the people in the village from leaving, which is why he's opposed to opening the barrier. He wants to protect all of the villagers from experiencing the same fate as his mother, and calls himself the barrier between the outside and inside. Something interesting about the scene is that right before he transforms, Garfield says, "No one can do it but me. No one will know but me, and no one else needs to know." I think this is heavily related to the conversation that Subaru and Garfield had at the end of episode 35. Near the end of their argument, Subaru says that he knows hell, and that he's the only one who needs to know hell. I think showing that same mentality reflected in Garfield right before he turns into a more intimidating version of himself is a pretty cool way of showing why it's ultimately flawed to think that way. It's okay to rely on people around you for support. I think Garfield serves as a reflection of Subaru's past self, someone that he used to be, a phase that he grew out of, which makes this fight the perfect capping point for Subaru's development as a character. It establishes the progression of Subaru as a character, while subsequently planting the seed for Garfield's development that follows. In Subaru's trial, we found out that he also hates himself. He views himself as pathetic, and because of that, he wants to help others at the cost of himself. In this fight against Garfield, Subaru is only able to win because of the people who support him, his friends, a fitting way to take out someone like past Subaru and Garfield who only rely on themselves and stand alone. Let's take a look at that scene from before where Subaru says,
地獄なら知ってる。もう何度も見てきた。
Needless to say, I think this is a really good line. It's really punchy and well written, in my opinion one of the most badass things Subaru could ever say, but I found it to be kind of odd when watching it unfold. More specifically, when Garfield tries to admonish Subaru for being so cocky and thinking he can do whatever he wants, he says that Subaru doesn't even know what pain or suffering is, which is what leads Subaru to say what he does. I felt that this interaction was kind of forced at first, almost as if the author specifically made Garfield say that for the purpose of getting Subaru to retort the way he did. But with the added context of Garfield's backstory and way of perceiving himself, it makes a lot more sense now. Now that we've established that Garfield's mindset is the same as Subaru's was, it becomes clear why he would say something like this. The reason why Garfield starts losing it in the scene is because Subaru genuinely thinks that he can help the sanctuary, using big words to back himself up. Since Garfield thinks of himself as the only one capable of protecting the villagers, he assumes that Subaru doesn't know what he's getting himself into, and the fact that he's acting all cocky really pisses him off. That's why he tries to give him a reality check, telling him that he, quote, doesn't know what pain or suffering really is. Garfield knows very well what it is, which is what makes him qualified in his mind to be the only one acting like a saving grace. And the reason why he shuts up after Subaru's response is because, I mean, shit, he probably knows better than anyone what pain and suffering is. I think it's pretty cool we can see hints of Garfield's way of thinking even before it was revealed in this spectacular episode. That's just my interpretation, though. I'd love to know what anybody who's watching is thinking, but let's be honest, not many people are actually going to watch this video. Anyways, if you did, thanks, and goodbye for now.